Hey, what's up everybody? Dane here from Moving to Canada, and today I am joined by the amazing Deanne Akers-Lons, a regulated Canadian immigration consultant and founder of Canada Abroad. And Deanne, what are we here to talk about today?
We're here to talk about moving to Ontario.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your best options for immigrating to Ontario. And to do this, we are in Canada's capital city. We are in Ottawa, which is where you're based, right, Deanne?
Yep, I live here with my family.
Amazing. And right now we're standing at the Ottawa Locks, which is kind of at the tail end of the Rideau Canal going into the Ottawa River. It's a really beautiful area, and we're going to do a little bit of like a walking tour along the canal today. So I'll show off some different parts, but it's a really beautiful area, eh?
Yeah, no, it's definitely beautiful here. And did you know in the winter this actually freezes and it becomes a skating rink that you can take all the way through the city?
What? Okay. That's pretty cool. Maybe I should move to Ontario.
I think you should. And if you want to, I've got a few options for you.
Okay, so let's jump into it. Today we're talking about the 5 most popular options for immigrating, not just to Ottawa, but to anywhere in the province of Ontario. And we're gonna start off with Express Entry. So Deanne, what is Express Entry?
Well, Express Entry is Canada's biggest system for managing immigration applications. So mainly what it's for is people who want to apply through the Federal Skilled Worker, Canadian Experience Class, or Federal Skilled Trades. So what happens is when you get into the Express Entry system, you're given basically a ranking score, and it's out of 1,200 points. So look at age, education, language abilities, work experience, and some other factors. And then what the government does is about every 2 weeks, they pick people with the highest score out of 1,200.
Okay, great. And look, we're not going to go into full details about the score breakdown in this video. If you guys want more information about that, check out the links in the description, or you can actually book a consultation with Deanne and the team at Canada Abroad. They'll assess your options, see if Express Entry is a good fit for you, or even help you find out if there are other immigration options that could be a good fit for you. Now, Deanne, what happens if you are successful through Express Entry? Like, it's not like a temporary work permit program, right? Like, it's a permanent immigration program?
Yeah, so if you are successful through the Express Entry system, you're actually going to get permanent residency. And this is for you, and then if you have an accompanying spouse or common law partner and dependent children, they're all included as well. So you all end up getting Canadian permanent residency.
Okay, that's amazing. But what I've heard is that Express Entry it's a little bit competitive. So like, it sounds like the dream, but it can be a little bit hard to achieve that dream. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not the easiest for everyone. The score is really competitive. So if you are in the Express Entry system, you might be eligible to get into the system, but if your score is too low, you're not actually going to get picked for permanent residency. So it's always really important to know going in what your comprehensive ranking system score is and what your realistic chances are. Otherwise, you're going to have to bring up that score.
Okay, amazing. So Express Entry, it's a really, really great option if you are competitive enough. If you're not competitive enough, we've got some other options that we're going to go through in this video. Next up on the docket is the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, or OINP. Deanne, what is the OINP?
So the OINP is a provincial nominee program that is run by the Government of Ontario.
And PNPs, provincial nominee programs, they're kind of like mini immigration programs that allow the provinces to nominate immigrants based on their own needs. So Deanne, who is Ontario looking for? Like, who's a good candidate for the OINP?
There's actually a lot of programs available, so a lot of people are going to end up being good candidates for Ontario. It's not just one specific group that they're looking for.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think there's like 9 different streams of the OINP. Can you give our audience like a little bit of a rundown of like some of the more popular streams?
Yeah, so there are streams for people with high comprehensive ranking system scores, people maybe in the Express Entry system, French-speaking individuals, skilled trades people with job offers, and international students who've graduated from a school here in Ontario.
Okay, great. So a ton of different options with the OINP. And can you give us a little bit of a rundown about the application process? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, so it's basically a 2-stage process. So if you're eligible, you're going to apply for that provincial nomination from the Ontario government. If you are successful, you use that and then you lodge your application for permanent residence with the federal government of Canada.
Okay, makes sense. And you said it's permanent residence is the end result, so that's the same kind of high value immigration status that you would get through Express Entry that gives you the right to live and work anywhere, you can stay as long as you want, you get access to healthcare, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just for you, it's also going to include if you have a spouse or common law partner if they're eligible, and your dependent children.
Okay, wow, that's really great. So again, we're not going to go into full detail. If you want more information, check out the links in the description or book a consultation with Deanne and her team. But we're going to move on to option number 3, immigrating to Ontario as an international student. So Deanne, studying in Ontario, good option, eh?
It's a great option. Ontario has so many different universities and colleges to choose from.
Yeah, there are some incredible schools here. Just before we get into the immigration stuff, just on the topic of schools, we've got in Ottawa, the University of Ottawa and Carleton, there's Queen's in Kingston, there's McMaster in Hamilton, there's Western in London, and that doesn't even include the city of Toronto, which has U of T, one of the best ranked schools in the world. Ontario has some great options for post-secondary studies. And my understanding is that studying as an international student, it can actually help you to immigrate permanently. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a longer pathway, but if you are coming to study in Canada, you're going to get a study permit first, which is a temporary permit that's going to last for the duration of your studies. But then after that, most international students qualify for what's called a postgraduate work permit. So it's going to get you some very valuable Canadian work experience. And then usually between both having Canadian education and Canadian work experience, you're either going to qualify through the Express Entry system or the Ontario Immigrant Nominee program, both of the programs that we actually just discussed.
Okay, amazing. So like you said, it's a bit of a longer term strategy. Just to summarize, get your study permit, then you get your work permit, then you get your work experience, and then you can apply for PR. So, I mean, it sounds like a really great option. That's option number 3, but we've got 2 other things to discuss today. Let's go on to option number 4. Work permits. And Deanne, I know work permits can be a little bit confusing, eh?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different types of work permits out there. It can be a little bit confusing to know which, if any, work permits might be an option for you.
Okay, but let's take it to its very basic level. Like, what is a work permit?
Okay, so a work permit, it gives you temporary status in Canada, so it's only valid for a certain duration of time. And there's essentially 2 different types of work permits. So the first one is what we call a closed work permit. So it's going to be specific, closed, to a specific employer, job, and location in Canada. And then we've got the open work permits. Exactly. And these are going to let you work for different employers, so you can change jobs, you can change job titles, and you can move all across Canada with those.
Great. And there are a bunch of different types of work permits. We're not going to go over all of them today, but I thought what we could do is a kind of speed round on 3 of the most common types of work permits and maybe the most useful for coming to Ontario. So we're going to speed round through this, and I'm going to throw to you first, Deanne. You're going to have LMIA-based work permits, so can you explain that for our audience?
Yes. So what an LMIA is, it's called a labor market impact assessment. So the first step in this process is you have to get a job offer from a Canadian employer, but the job offer is not the only thing that you need. Then it's the employer's responsibility to basically apply for this labor market impact assessment. And essentially what they're doing is they have to show the federal government that they couldn't find a local, a Canadian citizen or permanent resident to fill that position. And that's why they need to bring in the international talent.
Okay, and is that an easy thing for an employer to do? Is it easy to get a labor market impact assessment?
It's not the easiest process. There's quite a few steps involved for the employer, and there is a cost to these as well. So most employers obviously are going to choose to hire a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, or somebody with an existing open work permit. But if they can't, then this could be a really good option for you.
Yeah, so it's often great for people with super specialized knowledge, that sort of thing. So the next work permit option, I'm going to try to handle this one myself. It's the Working Holiday Program. And this is a program for youth from participating countries to come to Canada and work and travel. It's an open work permit program, so you can travel around, you can work for different employers in different locations. But in order to be eligible, you have to be from one of the participating countries. And there's about 35 countries that do participate in the working holiday program. And you also have to be within the eligible age range. So that's either 18 to 30 or 18 to 35, depending on your country. So if you are from one of the participating countries, it can be a really great and actually a really simple way to get a work permit, but it only works if you're from one of those participating countries. So the last work permit option that we're going to cover is intra-company transfers, and I'm going to throw that one back to you, Deanne.
Yeah, so these can actually end up being a really great option. If you work for a company, it's multinational, or at least has an office, a branch, or a subsidiary in Canada. And what happens is if you work in a certain type of position and they want to transfer you to Canada, then they can just move you from one office to the other, and they don't have to go through that whole labor market impact assessment. So because there's so many multinational companies here in Ontario, this could be a really great option for some people.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, and you skip the LMIA process. So those are 3 of the most popular work permit options. Again, it's not all of the options, so if you want more detail, check the links in the description, or again, you can get all of your work permit options assessed by booking a consultation with Deanne and the Canada Abroad team. So we've got one immigration option left to talk about, and it is family sponsorship. Deanne, why is family sponsorship a good option for immigrating to Ontario?
Well, Canada really believes in family reunification. So if you're married to a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, or you're in a common law relationship with a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, then they can actually just sponsor you for permanent residency based on that relationship.
Okay, cool. And are there other types of relationships that are eligible for sponsorship?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can sponsor your dependent children, and then also you can sponsor parents and grandparents. But that is now a lottery system, and it's gotten very competitive, so it might take you a couple years to actually win the lottery and get to sponsor your parents or grandparents.
Okay, cool. So that one's less guaranteed right off the bat.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's actually the 5th and final option for immigrating to Ontario that we are covering in today's video. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and a huge thank you to you, Deanne, for sharing your expertise with us. I would walk along a canal with you any day.
Thanks, Dane.
And look, you guys have seen Deanne in action. You can see that she's incredibly talented. If you want more information about any of the immigration streams we've covered today, or Canadian immigration more generally, book a consultation with her and the team at Canada Abroad. They'll assess your eligibility, help you understand the application process, maybe even help you prepare and submit your application. So it's a really great opportunity, and you can do that just by clicking the link right down there in the pinned comment. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you like this video, like this video. And if you want more Canadian immigration content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.